Hi everybody, Russ from My Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. New channel, please consider subscribing, hitting that bell icon, and made aware of any time you put new we put new content on. We put new content on rather. Hope everyone is safe and well at the moment. No football, no Premier League. We've got this rubbish Europa League and Champions League stuff happening soon, but we'll keep you going. We'll keep that West Ham fix going in this weird, crazy off season. With all these weird transfer rumours and stuff like that flying about, we're still plugging away with My Hammers 11. Loads of great fans and guests coming up, including today's fan. It's David Bryn Evans. Hi, Dave. How you doing, man?
Hello, mate. How are you, Russ? All right?
I'm all right. I'm all
Good.
right. I've been off this week, so it's nice. So spend some time with my daughter. We cancelled our holiday, so we were me and my wife are tag teaming, so the mother-in-law can have August off when but yeah, we're all right. Yeah, we're okay. I went to Nigel King. Do you know Nigel? Do you know
The
Nigel?
name rings the bell.
Yeah, he's one. Everyone knows he's one of the West Ham sort of Upton Park life people. I went to
Yeah,
his house sanctuary today, which was absolutely fantastic. My
brilliant.
daughter had a lovely time handling
Great.
the
Yeah,
house.
no, good, good.
It was lovely. Again,
Yeah,
it's just like one of these weird West Ham, West Ham family, the West Ham community, things like that. And it's like, it's lovely. And thank you, Nigel, because I know he'll be listening. It was a lovely day. How are you in this sort of weird world we living in at the moment?
yeah, it's definitely strange, isn't it?
Mm.
I think, as I said, I'm still working from home. I've
Yep,
been a week before lockdown.
same as me, yeah.
What is that now? About 4 months now?
Something
Four
like
and
that,
a half
yeah, yeah,
months. I'm quite enjoying it, mine. I mean,
Me too.
luckily this FaceTime and all that kind of stuff, like yeah. Yeah, working from home, absolutely no problem at all. Social distancing, I've been doing it for years. That's been no problem. Yeah, absolutely, really,
I
probably
know.
enjoying it's the wrong word,
I know
but
what you mean.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
because for some people it makes a big difference. This
Yeah,
everything because
yeah,
obviously they're very social, a particular social person anyway. But if they're going out or the elderly and stuff like that, yeah. But I'm the same as you. I've sort of gone with the flow a little bit, and it
yeah.
hasn't really affected me,
No, no.
which is great. Which is obviously yeah, and it's just a bit weird now. It's like we went to McDonald's and went into McDonald's because obviously it's 50. It's a lot cheaper, isn't it? If you get in now, Monday
Is
to
it? I didn't even
Wednesdays.
know they were open yet.
Yeah, the
Oh,
government
there
have put this
you
thing
go.
in place. So if you eat in restaurants, I think it's like 80,000 restaurants across the country. If you eat in Monday to Wednesday and eat in the restaurant, it's 50% off or something like that.
All
So
right. Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
we go. You see. So
Probably not
yeah,
good for the waistline, though.
that exactly it doesn't help. It doesn't help. I was looking for a lockdown body,
Yeah,
um, and it looks like I've eaten a lockdown body, let alone got a lockdown. So it hasn't worked for me. But and obviously West Ham, we know who's going to be in the Premier League next year now. So obviously Fulham are going to be in there. Scotty Parker returns,
yeah, yeah.
uh, which was a good, which
Levan
is
Bilic and Julian
yeah,
Dicks as well coming back.
exactly. Looking
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
to seeing some old boys in, and obviously we're there as well, which is the main
Yeah.
main thing. And
I
yeah,
don't
that was
know about you. For me, it was never in doubt. Well, I say it was
no,
never in doubt. I never thought we would go down.
no,
I didn't expect us to beat Chelsea. I probably did expect us to beat Burnley or whatever, but
yeah,
I don't know. I just thought that the teams below us just were showing no real form.
no,
Um, I Villa picked up towards the end, didn't they?
mm,
But no, I generally wasn't. I wasn't overly worried about us going down, if I'm
no.
honest.
Yeah,
I
I,
was
I
not.
was I was the same. I knew we would. I knew we as you said, we'd get there in the end. I mean, we were
Yeah, yeah,
fortunate in there was arguably four teams worse than us.
yeah. Oh,
It,
absolutely, absolutely.
and and I said it on this channel even between restart. I said Watford were going to go down, not Villa, and I was very proud of myself. But yeah, I mean, it was just when and typically for West Ham, we start playing some really nice football, and then that's it, no football for 6 weeks, and everyone
Yeah,
goes on holiday.
crazy, you know. Yeah.
Just the
No, it's a
West Ham way,
shame.
isn't it?
It's a shame.
It is a shame because I mean, it comes, but we'll see. I mean, I've, you know, I have blind optimism every off season that next season's our year. This is our year. We're going to win a cup this year, and da da da. And after about 4 or 5 games, I'm back to square one again, and that's to build me up
Yeah.
throughout the season.
Sadly, these days it's all about the 40 points, isn't it?
It is,
Get
and
your 40
that's the
points.
difficulty.
We don't
Yeah,
take the cup seriously. I mean, the
no,
League Cup and the FA Cup are there to be won for clubs like us.
yeah,
If you put out a strong team, but again, it's all about the money. It's about the
it
Premier
is.
money, and I
Mm.
get it. but for the fans, year after year, sort of no cup runs, it's not great. It's
No,
not great,
it's not.
especially for a club like us who traditionally, other than the odd year, but traditionally we've always been poor in the league, but we've
Yeah,
had the good cup runs in
yeah,
between
yeah.
every now and again. So sadly, we're not even getting them anymore, which is
No,
which isn't good.
it's not. And I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
It's. I would love us to come out the blocks in September. Just go for go for it. Like we did against Man United. And try and play those away games, those free
yeah,
hits, and you'll
yeah,
get some of those free hits back. You'll get some
yeah,
of those points, and then come sort of January time, be on 25 points, 25, 28 points, something like that. You'll hopefully pick up 4 wins by the end of the season. And she
yeah,
said, just go for it, because I think, and it's one of those things where it breeds confidence in the team. If you're always winning, cup runs, and it does, your league form might dip a little bit, but you'll still have the momentum going because people want to play in the semi-finals and the quarter-finals, so they have to play well to get into those teams,
yeah,
and
yeah.
get a quality squad in, and but we don't. We know.
I
We
think
know
the
what's going to
fans.
happen.
I think the fans, as much as anything, though, need to. I think they need to manage their expectations
Yeah.
sometimes, because when you're starting to talk about top six, well, the top six now is a top eight. So
Yeah.
to come ninth is an accomplishment these
Yeah.
days, eighth or ninth. And I think fans talking about top six and whatever, you need major investment in the
Yeah.
team, the squad, if you're going to get to that level. And sadly, that's not going to happen for us. So I think a
No.
couple of seasons, mid-table, and maybe with the odd cup run, happy days. I'd
Yeah.
take it all day long.
Yeah, it just needs a fair. I mean, I was speaking to someone the other day, and we was talking about that. And obviously, we tried it, didn't we? We got our feet sort of slightly burnt with Pellegrini, and it was almost we'd built a really expensive house, but we hadn't seen if the foundations were strong enough to support that house.
Yeah,
And and that's what happened. They built this house it's got a beautiful balcony, but we didn't put it at the balcony. We put that in the garage, and then
yeah,
we put this here, and it wasn't the pieces weren't in the right place, and it was on really dodgy foundations, and I think we need a couple of years, as you said, just to make those foundations really solid,
yeah,
build up gently, and everyone talks about this Red Bull Leipzig model type thing where you buy young players and sell them. That just sounds like good business to me. Not this. Not
no,
it's not a model. Leipzig didn't develop this idea. You buy good players in the Championship, you build them up and flip them for a few seasons, and yeah, it takes a while and it's a bit frustrating for a fan because you get invest in a player and then they go, but you build the kitty up and then you sort of get this. That's how I think, because we're not going to.
the
We're not
the
going to
reality
compete.
though is that we might not be a selling club as such, but for instance, Declan Rice. We
Yeah,
all know that Declan Rice, whether it's this window or maybe the next one, we all know he's going to go at
yeah,
some stage. We'd like to think he wouldn't, but money talks. And if these other clubs can double their wages, offer European football, Champions League, chances of progressing your international career, etc., you'd be a mug to stay. To be honest with you, I'd have no problem with Declan Rice leaving.
no,
I'd rather he didn't,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I totally understand if he decided, whether it's this window or maybe the next,
yeah.
that the time was right to sort of extend his career. Really,
Yeah, I know what you mean, and what I would hope is that money is being looked at in an investment perspective. So it's like, okay,
yeah,
well, God forbid I don't think it'll be this window. I think this window is going to be a bit rushed. I think people have done their business quite early on. So obviously,
yeah,
City bought Ake for
yeah,
40
yeah,
million,
yeah,
and I think Chelsea bought a crap load already. To be honest, I'd be surprised for FFP whether they can spend money to get Deck in this window. To be
yeah,
honest, City are the one I'm worried about because I think City, and I know there was people think, oh, put Deck, he'll be a centre back in the future. You can go and buy it. I mean, you could buy Aki for £40 million. He's a good centre back. They bought Liverpool Van Dijk for I don't know how much, but 30, 40, 50. I don't know how much it was. You can go and buy good centre backs, but the role, that sort of position that Declan Rice plays, there's not many of them people around, and
no,
there's a price tag on that. And someone like Man City, with Fernandinho leaving, need that sort of box to box energetic player. And I don't think Chelsea. I think Chelsea have got they're all right at the moment, but I think City are the ones I'm worried about because I think they
Oh yeah, totally.
fit in.
But wouldn't it be nice to be talking in 10 years' time,
Oh yeah,
saying about Declan Rice, club
being Mark
legend?
Noble, yeah,
It would be lovely, wouldn't it?
it
But
would be.
sadly, I think those it just doesn't happen these
It
days, does
is,
it?
but I don't know why. I have this weird feeling with Declan Rice. It might be the way he talks about the club,
Mm,
or just the way you don't hear any criticism of the club when he talks. And
yeah,
despite and thing is, he's not a great interviewer. He's very like a boy talking in a candy shop when and they'll knock that out of him, the PR team eventually. But
yeah.
and you think he would, yes, things would splurt out because he talks so like off the fly. But I think. I would love Declan Rice to do a Mark Noble. I think
Mm,
he would be different. He could be another Mason Mount and another Ollie Barkley. What's name Barkley? Ross Barkley. Who's Ollie
Barkley.
Barkley? I don't know. Ollie Barkley. So, Ross Barkley, or John Henson. He'll be another one, just another one. But if he'd be a massive fish in a small pond at West Ham.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. Couldn't agree
and
more.
if it means give him another 100 grand a week more, if it means next year he'll definitely be team captain. Mark will be
Yeah,
club captain, and he'll be team captain.
yeah,
Build the team around him, give him, and But the flip side is, if Chelsea came in and said, right, there's 25 million and Batshuayi, and we said no, Declan's not going on strike. Do you know what I mean? He's not that
no,
type of player, so he knows his worth as well. So
yeah.
who knows? Who
I
knows?
know.
Who knows? But
Yeah,
anyway, we leave that to all the other. We leave that to Gonzo and Gio and the Irons United. Like, they do all the, and Nicky, they do all the sort of the I do nostalgia. That's my niche.
brilliant, brilliant.
Now, which is actually more enjoyable, I think, quite often than not. Now, for you, David, I see the shirt. I see the collection behind you as well, which is impressive. My wife can't stand. I've got 4 or 5 shirts in a cardboard box, and
Really.
you've got a whole rack. I see there. Why West Ham, David? Why is West Ham your club?
To be honest with you, I can't think of a time when I ever had to make a choice.
Yeah,
I think my mum and dad were West Ham were their team of choice, but they weren't big football fans. So I guess it came from there. I mean, obviously I lived in the area.
yep,
Dad was from Hornchurch, Mum was from South
that's where I
Ockenden.
live.
So
Yep,
that was the local club. First flat I lived in was Chadwell Heath as a kid, near the training ground, well, as was. So yeah, I never had to make a choice, if I'm honest. I think it was always West Ham, but it was strange that, as I say, my old man was not a big football fan, so
yeah.
it wasn't as if it was like pushed on me or whatever. So yeah, very very odd that, but yeah,
It just
and years of misery have followed me ever
yeah,
since.
you're right. It's just creeped up on you, and it's like, what? Where did this come from?
Uh,
What?
Life would have been
Like,
so much easier if I'd been a Liverpool fan or a United
oh,
fan, whatever. But saying that, I always say that the highs that West Ham fans will experience will always be much higher, right up there, more so than the top 6 sides that are winning cups every week, every
definitely.
season. They're qualifying for Europe. When we
Mm,
get to a final, it's a big thing, and
yeah,
I love that. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. They all come
Hey,
out.
West
All
Ham
the
fans still celebrate coming third. I mean, there's
yeah,
DVDs, there's books, there's still to this day, there's reunion dinners. And I
yeah,
love that. I love the fact
yeah,
that those players now, all in their 60s, 70s, whatever, they're
yeah,
iconic. They're legends for
yeah.
finishing third. And
I know,
I love
yeah.
it.
It's
I
such a
love it.
West Ham way, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
West Ham way. It's like, well
yeah,
done for being second runner-up to the
yeah,
league. Brilliant,
yeah,
thank you very much. But it's so true. It's so true, and it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, for the highs, they are extra high for West Ham. I
Of
mean,
course they are. Of course they
eh,
are.
and our cup finals are Tottenham, Chelsea, and Man United. And that's what we have. We know we're going to have 6 of those cup finals every year, and we probably win about half of them. I reckon we do quite well,
Mm.
really, when you play those ones. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that's what we do. And then we've got that week, those 3 or 4 days before we lose to Burnley or draw against West Brom or something, to then really, really go at all our Tottenham fans with as much abuse as we can, And then we know come Saturday they'll be getting it all back to us
Yeah.
because they said we've lost
Yeah.
4-0 to
Yeah.
Sheffield United. But that's what it is. That's what being a West Ham fan's all about. And having the sense of togetherness and community, and it's I don't know what it is about West Ham fans, but I mean, like today going around the thing with Nigel's at our sanctuary, it's so random, but it was
Yeah.
just
I don't know
West
about you.
Ham.
You always get that random thing when you're on holiday or
Yes.
in a different area, and you see someone or they see you in a West Ham top, and out it comes, or
Yeah.
Irons and whatever. You don't get that with other clubs,
No.
or not to my knowledge anyway.
No.
But
No.
it's something quite unique with West Ham.
It is. And you talk about social distancing. We've been doing it for years, haven't we? We
Yeah.
don't shake hands or high five. We just do
No,
that.
no.
They do
Yeah.
that. And yep.
Yeah.
Oids. Yep.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
always wear well, it's me and my daughter. We always travel in colours. That's what we've always done.
Yeah.
And even when she's been a baby, and yeah, my suitcase is always full of. Because you never know, do you? As you said, you always
No.
bump into someone, and I've seen people in like Liverpool shirts and stuff, and the waiting staff at the hotels and stuff. They don't seem to interact with more than West Ham. They come over and it's Bobby Moore, and it's incredible the effects.
Yeah.
And they even do this channel at the fan base outside of Essex. Outside of London is mental, and that's what I love. And it's like today I was wearing this, and some random bloke came up to me and like was in. I don't know, looking at loads of pigs. And he went,
Yeah.
yeah, they're all Millwall. This lot are all Millwall. And I was like, oh, are they? Yeah, all these pigs are Millwall. Don't go near them. I was like, okay, right, no worries, mate. And we chatted for about an hour about West Ham, and it was just amazing. I just love it.
Yeah.
And that was over in Maidstone, right over the water. But no, that's what being a West Ham fan is all about. And particularly now you see it, obviously on Facebook. You go on Facebook and stuff quite a lot, and you see, and there's been people who've suffered, West Ham sort of fans who have suffered obviously during this time, have lost loved ones and stuff like that, or got out of work, and you just see the community helping them all out. Like Jackie Hughes' grandson, he unfortunately passed. He was 15, and we got a floral tribute on one of the seats for the last game at Villa. You know what I mean? And little stuff like that, and it's.
Yeah.
I don't see any of that outside of in other clubs. I just don't, and obviously we're not privy to it, but. Even my Tottenham friends and stuff who watch this show because they haven't got nothing like this. Yeah. And if John's watching and people like that, right? But they watch it because they haven't got that sense of community.
Yeah. And just think, and we can never be accused of being glory hunters either.
No.
Ever.
Although I got in the promotional season 92-93 so I was a glory hunter, finishing second to Newcastle United and scoring a last minute goal against Cambridge to go up. But I was a bit of a glory hunter. Now obviously, David, since West Ham was somewhat just like a mist descended onto you, and that was it, you're a West Ham fan. There must have been some really, really sort of really like key memories or things that stick out in your mind of your sort of fans' career.
I've sort of given, in terms of games now, three games come to mind. I mean, obviously I was at the playoff finals.
Yeah.
Didn't get a ticket for the FA Cup final in 2006, but it was in Cardiff for it and all the rest of it, soaking up the atmosphere as you do. But those games aside, the three games to indulge me on this one would be, first ever game. You always remember your first game.
Yeah.
And my first game was August 78. I know I don't look that old, but August 78. It was our first game of the season after we were relegated the season before. So we were in the old second division.
Yeah.
And we beat Notts County 5-2. What an introduction to football. I think David Cross scored a hat-trick. Devon Shear scored.
Oh wow!
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yes, I think you always remember your first game.
Yeah.
It was special. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
So the second one then would be the Carlos Tevez last game of the season at Old Trafford.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was intense. That was really intense. I mean, I've never watched a game, and do you know what I mean? You're riding every tackle. Didn't expect to get a win. Didn't expect, which we needed.
Yeah.
I know United. I think on the day, I'm sure I remember they dropped a couple of players because they had a Champions League final.
I think they had, yeah. It wasn't their
Yeah,
fullest team. Yeah, yeah,
but even their reserve side. I mean,
yeah. Oh,
it's a decent team. So I mean,
yeah.
the whole end to that season. What was it? Was it 8 wins and a draw out of
Something
10?
like that. It was
Um,
amazing.
oh, it was superb, like, yeah, absolutely. So a great ending to the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, stay up in the last day. You can't get better than that.
No.
And the third one would be the Mark Noble testimonial.
Oh, nice.
Only because, I mean, it was great to see all the old players
Yeah.
there. It's great to be at Upton Park. And as I say, see Di Canio back and all the kind of iconic West Ham players as well. But for me, my son Ruben is a massive West Ham fan. Like, he's 11 years of age now, and that was our last game we done at Upton Park. So I mean, I done the Swansea one, which was about a week after, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll always remember that because we had decent seats. It was I don't know how many goals was it, 9-6 or something, something stupid.
Yeah.
But again, I'll always remember our last game at Upton Park together. So yes, quite special that one. Yeah.
That's lovely, and you're right, and it was it was just one of those lovely days. You know, it was just a lovely day. It doesn't happen a lot at West Ham. You know, we hadn't had a testimonial there for God knows how long.
Yeah, no,
and yeah, I know, like years and years ago. And secondly, it was just like a nice day. You know, it was a bit, you know, it wasn't particularly serious. As you said, it was almost like a sort of the last game in the bowling type thing, because she had like the greatest hits. It was like a now 20, you know, compilation of the season. You know, it's like it was like, oh, here's Di Canio and here's Dean Ashton and here's Kevin Keane and and it was lovely, and it was just nice to. I love the fact that Mark decided to do it because I mean, I think there was a talk he could have done it at London State, but he wanted to do it at the bowling because of what he meant to and everything as well, and it just encapsulated West Ham. And you know, I mean, for a testimonial, you don't usually get a sellout really, or practically a sellout. You know, it's like I remember Tony Gale interviewed him, and he had 8,000 because he buggered up on the scheduling. He didn't realise West Ham were playing at home that day. But
I'd done the and again that was another good night. I'd done the Tony Carr testimonial.
Oh yeah.
And there was only 13,000 for that. And you had both Ferdinand brothers, Lampard, Joe Cole, and John Terry were there for pictures before the game. Didn't play in the game because they obviously had a game. But as I say, I was amazed. Then Di Canio was there. Zola come on second half.
He did.
Best player on the night he was, and he was our manager at the time.
I know. Yeah.
But as I say, it was a shame for that one that there was only 13,000 there.
It was a night game, wasn't it? It was an evening game, if I remember.
It was.
And there was some. It was like, you know, it was the Mark one.
I think we had a game on a Saturday. Didn't we have a game or coming up? It wasn't the end of season gig that they normally put it on.
No, it was during. I think it was during. Yeah, it was during the season. So, but it's just the way these things fall out in terms of organising. But yeah, no, it's and you're right. You know, and what I love, you know, about that last game you mentioned was it wasn't about a game. It was about the experience of you and your son, and
absolutely.
and that's what it's all about. And I think it's great that we can watch the football on the telly and stuff, but you don't realise. Are you a crowd noise on or off person? On.
Yeah, to me, I overheard one of your interviews. You have a night.
Yeah.
I think the fella said that he started with the noise and then didn't like it and then went off. For me, it was crowd noise on right from the start, because it just takes away. You forget that you're watching a game that hasn't
you do
there. So for me, and I'm sure they tailor it per club, don't they? So
they do.
Some of the chants and some of the sort of songs, whatever. So definitely for me, crowd noise on there.
Yeah, we interviewed a guy called Travis Newton, which I think I've posted a couple of days ago, and he works for Sky, and he was in a meeting with the guy who came up with that idea, because I assumed it was a bloke in a dark room with like buttons, and that's what I thought. But
the very first game, there was a bit of a lag on it was the Villa Sheffield United, and there seemed to be a lag on it, and it was like. The shot would be taken, and then literally 2 or 3 seconds after, then you'd have the noise. But they sort of improved that as it went on, because I think the next game was Man City, Arsenal, and that
Yes.
was spot on, like, and I thought, oh, here we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, I can live with that.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah,
all done. It's all done with AI and Opta stats as well. So it's like,
right,
and
gotcha.
it's so based obviously if I don't know, the home team has got 70% possession in the last 10 minutes, then the crowd amp up more in their sound and stuff. And the one thing he said they couldn't figure out was because the guy who made it didn't like football. He wasn't a football fan, so it was all mathematical and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
what they couldn't figure out was if a team is really pushing and then they concede an own goal at like a corner, the computer couldn't work out what to do. Yeah, what type of
really,
sound, you know.
really, really.
And I always liked the fact when we were beating Norwich 3-0 up at half time, and the crowd was booing Norwich, and that's
Yeah,
harsh.
yeah,
That's harsh when the robots are booing you off the pitch. You know,
yeah, yeah,
that's like that's really, you know, you're going down. You've lost your fans
yeah.
if old, you know, if the robots are the mash robots are booing you off the pitch at half time. But
Yeah.
no, it's very funny. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's something you're probably gonna have to get used to. You know, we don't know what's going to happen next year. You know,
Well, they did
October,
talk, didn't they
maybe,
talk about October that they'd open it up for
maybe.
roughly a third, was it? Of the, I'd be
That's
surprised if they do, but
yeah.
there was talk of that anyway. I knew
Yeah, I
they
mean they were
started.
planning to do all the stuff this last week, was it? Or yeah, early
Yeah,
this week,
yeah, yeah.
and it all got cancelled because the R rate went back up, and I think, well, we know for sure the first few games will definitely be
Oh,
behind,
yeah, yeah,
completely behind
absolutely,
closed doors, and I
absolutely.
think we'll see what happens. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens. I think some fans are better than no fans. But then it's a weird experience for those fans that are there because you know there's the camaraderie. It's going for a pint at half time, isn't it? It's
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
miss all that, and that's not
yeah,
what football isn't about sitting there. You know, you could just stay at home and watch it get a better view. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's not like you're not experiencing anything more sitting there and in your family, and then 2 meters along you've got another family.
yeah.
Yeah, but look, something's got to happen. We've got to do something because otherwise, when are we ever going to get fans back in the stadium? So it's like, you know, they're not going to just
This,
like tomorrow say, right, that's it, everyone
yeah,
in. That's not going to
yeah.
happen.
But then 2 months ago, we weren't expecting any football at all, like, yeah. So, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
As you say, it does move on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, fingers crossed. It may not be this year, but certainly at some stage next season, I can see that there'll be some fans in
Yeah.
the stadium, hopefully.
I've got a feeling it'll be around after Christmas. I don't think
Yeah,
it'll be October. I think you know, God forbid, I think we might have another couple of weeks lockdown. I
yeah,
reckon.
yeah,
So and then that buggers it, and then it moves everything back a bit. So
yeah. Of course it
I
does.
reckon
Yeah,
after Christmas, because obviously you know we don't know what's going to happen at Christmas. You know the winter period with,
yeah,
you know we
yeah.
don't know what's going to happen with the you know. Anyway, we sidetrack as we always do these things, David. But but anyway, so what we do is we do this 11. So the idea is you pick your hammers 11. So it's your 11 players. It's your team. Doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It's your personal, your team, your 11 of the players you've been alive to see play.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
basically the only caveat. You can do whatever you want. You can pick your favourite players. You can pick, I don't know, your best left-sided players, your worst player. It doesn't matter. It's people that made an impact on you, positive or negative, as we've had with a few
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
which is quite funny. And it's true. And it's just an excuse to go and reminisce about players that maybe some people even forget, you know, and stuff. And I think we've had about 175 different players have come up in the 130 odd interviews we've had. So,
Really, really.
yeah, so some obviously, you
Hopefully, there
know,
might be a couple here later. You haven't
good,
read.
that's what we like. But some obviously will always appear, and that's fair enough because they
Yeah,
make an
yeah, yeah.
impact generationally across people, and that's why we put that caveat in. You know, why people have to be alive to see them play. Otherwise, we'd all pick the same team. Everyone would
Of
have
course
Bobby
you will.
Moore,
Absolutely.
and I never saw any of them. So, you know, people have Bobby Moore. I never saw Bobby Moore. I had Javier Margas and Roger Johnson. You know, yeah,
Yeah.
seems a fair swap. So for the Evans 11,
Well,
who will
what
be?
I've done, I've
Yeah,
gone
what
a
we
bit
doing?
left field. I've gone left
Nice.
field. I thought I'd come out with a couple of different names that maybe we haven't heard before, because you must get tired of, and understandably, the DeCanios, Bonds, Brooking, etc., Devonshire. A lot of those are going to be
Yeah, they will be. They will
mentioned
be.
every interview you do, or a lot of the interviews anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I've gone a bit left field. And I saw Marie Parks's the other night
yeah.
where he had the players that she had a crush on.
Yeah.
So I didn't want
Yes.
to go down that route. That weren't for me. So I have gone left fielder. I've done an unsung 11. So the
Nice.
players that play for us, but you wouldn't automatically, when you're thinking of your favourite strikers, your best goalkeepers, they wouldn't be on the horizon. But
I
nonetheless,
like
decent
it.
players that
Yeah.
that have played in the claret and blue.
Exactly. Oh, I like this. This is good. You're right, and it's you get the same names coming up, but everyone has a slightly different reason
I've
why
seen it.
they're in,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
and that's what it is. It's like it's not like, and that's why I think people, because people take different things. Football's all about opinions, as we know, and yeah, and it's and I mean personally I like it when when people put a theme on, because I think it makes your job a bit easier as well,
Yeah,
because it's like we interviewed Claire Lacey, who's a West Ham top appearance holder for the West Ham ladies, England international, and she has struggled for weeks on her 11, and I told her to do a theme and she didn't do a theme, and she
no,
had like another, and she like goalkeeper, she listed 6 goalkeepers. It's like, well, no,
yeah.
you got to pick one. But anyway, these are unsung 11. David, who's going to be between the sticks?
Right, I've gone for as my goalkeeper as Tom McAllister.
Oh,
Tom McAllister was basically cover for Phil Parkes. Played for us
yeah,
about 7, 8 years. Didn't play many games because Phil Parkes was really injured.
was Phil
And of
Parks.
course,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
those days, in the sort of early 80s, you took the cup competition seriously.
yeah,
So it weren't like you put a reserve side out or a squad team out, whatever. So yeah, I've gone with Tom McAllister. He was one of those goalkeepers that, like Roberto this season, when he was announced as the goalkeeper, you were like, oh God, really?
yeah,
It weren't like that. Tom McAllister was actually a decent keeper. I think
yeah.
he played. I might be wrong on this. I think 87 or 88. He played most of the season
Wow.
because Phil Parkes was injured. And as I say, a reliable, decent keeper, and it weren't one of those where you were like, it wasn't Roberto. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
he wasn't a Roberto. I like that. That's going to be a noun now at West Ham,
Yeah,
isn't it,
yeah,
for a
okay, yeah,
goalkeeper? He's good, but he's a bit of a Roberto. He's like, I know what you mean, and it's that, and I'd love to get, and hopefully we're getting to get a couple of sort of not reserve team keepers, but second choice keepers on the channel soon.
yeah, yeah.
We hopefully get Ian Furr on, who obviously a big
Well,
American
yeah, yeah,
goalkeeper,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm really intrigued to find out what it's like to be a number 2 goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to take it, but we all know about the number ones, and there's a Phil, and obviously he's 70 very soon, as you said. With Marie, Marie says he's 70, but someone like Tom McAllister, you're right. It's like he obviously did a job for us in those
Yeah, well,
seasons,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never heard of him, and
Oh,
I'll be
yeah.
honest, I've never heard of him. So it's like
Really?
that's why I had to just Google how to spell his name, make sure it was that's how you spelled out McAllister. But
There we go. There
because
we
I know
go.
someone would moan about it, probably Kent Irons or something like that would moan about it, or Kent
Yeah,
Hammers. But
yeah.
yeah, we'll put Tom
Good.
McAllister. That's brilliant. I love that.
There we go. Superb.
Okay, okay.
I've done
Right.
I've done a 4-4-2 now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
These they're just 4 defenders, so it's not like
Yeah.
there's a
Don't
left,
worry.
a
Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
whatever. So don't shoot me down on these because you may have a team of all left-footed players,
Don't
like,
matter.
which would be fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
First defender, then I've gone with Chicken George Paris.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Love George Paris. I know George has actually appeared in one or two people's favourite 11.
Yeah.
He was a trier. Weren't the best of players. I think he played again for us for 7, 8 years, whatever. He was part of the '86 team, I think, or certainly the squad. Yeah, good, reliable player. And I think what West Ham fans always liked about him was he had a go. He wasn't one
Yeah.
of these players that went missing in a game. He wasn't the best of players, but he was someone that would have a go. And I think West Ham fans like that. We like someone that will give 100% in every game.
We do.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
do. And he was, and what also we like, what I like him particularly, sort of not the squad players, but people who are versatile. He could see, he obviously he played left, I think he played right, I think he played in the centre for quite a bit in that 92,
Yeah.
93 season as well. And that's what you need in that sort of squad, I hate the word squad player, but that sort of player in the team. You need someone who has that versatility and
Yeah,
wherever
yeah.
he played, he put it in. And that was what people respected about him.
Of
And
course.
yeah, good shout. All right, Georgie Paris is in. Who is next?
Well, the second defender is George McCartney, old Linda.
Yeah,
I actually hadn't realised until I'd done him. Well, I probably had at the time, but I'd forgotten. He'd actually been with us twice because he
Yeah,
sort of left us the first time to go to Sunderland, come back, and then went back to Sunderland again.
yeah,
I always remember him as a reliable defender. When you discuss like sort of top defenders of West, I mean, don't get me wrong. In terms of unsung, he's certainly not underrated. I mean, he's an Irish international. He was
yeah.
always a reliable defender. I always thought he was decent, one of our better ones. I was gutted he left the second time. I don't know what the circumstances there were around that personally, but yeah, I was gutted he left. I was gutted he left.
I don't remember him making a mistake. Do you know what I mean? It's like I can remember most of our defenders, but he was just,
He was a
you know,
steady 7 out of
yeah,
10.
he was there,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah,
He
yeah.
it's not one of those people, those players on the team sheet which jars you or puts this sort of streak of dread. It comes, it's, oh god, we're playing Razvan Rat. Oh my god, but or we start with Masuaku left back. That type of thing. It's like he was like, yeah, George McCartney, yeah, he knew he was going to do a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Let's
Okay.
crack on, David. Who we got next one?
There we
It's
go,
brilliant.
mate. We're going with Paul Hilton.
Paul
Paul
Hilton.
Hilton was, well, the story there was an odd one that we played Bury in one of the early rounds
Yes,
of the
yeah, I
league.
heard this. Yeah.
We stuffed them 10-0, and a week later, John Lyall buys their central defender, which at the time didn't seem a great sort of bit of business.
No.
But as it happens, and again, he was a squad player primarily, but he could play in a lot of different positions, defence, midfield, whatever.
Yeah.
But he was quite reliable, like. I mean, we had him for quite a while at West Ham. I'm sure later on he went on the coaching staff as well.
Quite possibly.
But yeah, Paul Hilton, regardless, despite the fact that he was in defence when we won 10-0.
I know. It was similar to. Oh, it's gonna really annoy me now. There's another player that we did. I'm gonna have to go back here and see. There was a player, and again, it was, I can't remember. It might have been. Which really annoyed me who it was who told me this story, but it was with a goalkeeper. I believe it was. Oh, it's gone. I can't remember. I want to say Bobby Ferguson. It might be Bobby
Oh,
Ferguson.
right, yeah.
Did we sign him from Hibernian?
Kilmarnock, I think.
Kilmarnock, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Kilmarnock. And we'd signed him, and part of the deal was we had a friendly with Kilmarnock, and he played for Kilmarnock, and he turned up in a red goalkeeper's ensemble, which was very unusual. It's yellow and green, wasn't it? So I think this guy it's going to really annoy me now. Gary Stewart, that was who it was, and he said he looked like a telephone box, and he had an absolute stinker. And I think Kilmarnock 4-0 or something like that. They lost or something ridiculous, and then obviously then signed for West Ham. So it's
apparently
the
we
Paul
were
Hilton
offered. Ron Greenwood had signed, or there was a handshake in place that we would buy Bobby Ferguson. But so the story goes is that we were also offered then shortly after Gordon Banks.
Yes.
Because the agreement had been made, he said, no, I won't take Banks. I'll stick with Bobby Ferguson, which is a crazy story, really.
It's one of those crazy ones, isn't it? When they go in folklore history, like when we had Andrei Shevchenko playing in our reserve teams and he scored, and it's like we didn't. And it was another one with Marcelo Salas, and he was meant to turn up at reserve team, and he got injured walking on the plane or something. All these. I love all these sort of weird stories that happen.
Yeah,
but,
crazy.
sort of sliding doors moments. Right, okay, Paul Hilton's in. Who's your next defender?
The final defender I've gone with is Anton Ferdinand.
Yeah.
I always thought a lot of Anton. I thought he was another 7 out of 10 player.
Yeah.
Reliable. I always felt sorry for him because he had a famous older brother that was playing for United at the time, was playing for England. I always felt he was always in his brother's footsteps.
Yeah.
I think if Rio hadn't been there, I think we would probably look at Anton. I think he was always being compared to his brother, basically. And that was always a bit of a shame because, Rio was something special.
Yeah. No, you're right. And when I interviewed him, I didn't. It's funny. I didn't want to bring it up because I'm sure he must get brought that, but he brought it up himself, and he did say that same thing. He goes, he had the other side, so he had the other pressure where he turned up playing in the first team, and people he played with played with Rio as well, so he thought like they were always. He thought, I felt like people were always going to compare me to Rio, and it's like when people like Joe would like put him under his wing, or not, he's smaller but he's taller, but you know what I mean, figuratively, and he was like gobsmacked that that they were treating him as his own person.
Yeah.
And as you said, it must have been really weird. I mean, him and Rio literally joined pretty much together, a few years younger, and went through the ranks together. But
Yeah.
I know what you mean. And do
I
you know
love
what? He's such
I
a
love the
waste.
fact that Anton does still love the club as well.
I was just about to say that. I was
Oh,
about to
sure
say
he
that.
did that. Okay, yeah, sorry.
He is. You're totally right, and it's lovely when you hear him. We spoke for God, I mean, the interview is probably about. Well, for players, you get like a full half an hour if you're lucky, because but I think we went on for about an hour with him, and we spoke for about half an hour before and after, and he's such a lovely bloke, and he just loves the club, and you just get that sense that, again, he's one of those ones that I'd love them to involve people like that in the setup, even people like Elliot Ward and people like that, who's at Chelmsford Town at the moment, Chelmsford City. They're all doing stuff.
Yeah.
Franceschi's just become Billericay
yeah.
team assistant manager to O'Hara. So, there's all these, and it's just, I think there's something about them. He was. I came out of watching that interview with Anton thinking like, fuck, what a lovely bloke, what a genuinely lovely, who adores, and that's quite unusual for the modern player. All the old, as you said, all the old boys. Parksies, your Maccas, your Cotties, your Tony Gales, love the club to bits, and they do. But the modern players, you never think have the same affection. A couple, but he does, and I totally agree. It's a good shout. Big fan of Anton's, and he watches all the videos. So obviously, hi Anton.
He does.
He does, and we'll get a retweet because we put him in. So there you go. It's always good. Right, let's go into midfield. Who we got in midfield?
Right. This one was an obvious one for me.
Yeah.
Jeff Pike.
Yes. Good old Jeff Pike.
13 years at the club, 300 odd games. But he's never, I don't think anyone would ever say their favourite player of that time was Jeff Pike. I've never heard that. It was always Trevor Brooking, Billy Bonds, Frank Lampard, whatever. But Jeff Pike was that reliable midfield player. Again, 7 out of 10. Played in the 80 Cup final, played in the 81 League Cup final, part of the team that sort of went up in 81 as well with record points. Yeah, just a really dependable midfield player that no airs and graces about him, just goes out there, does his job. Jeff Pike then.
Yeah, and I think he's one of 6, I want to say. He might be 5 or 6 players who played in the 80 and the 85-86 season. I believe so. Obviously got Parksy and Lee Stewart and he was one of them. And again, I think you're right. Talk about unsung heroes. I think he really is. And and I think the unsung heroes get more of a shout out, so to speak, when you interview the players, because obviously they know what donkey work that he's doing. And there's other players who come up from the modern era as well, or sort of the mid '90s era. There's a couple of players who come up who don't appear in other fans' 11s, and in the sort of the 2006s, that type of season, there's another couple of players who come up which don't appear in other. And it's really interesting. It's like when you watch football with a professional football player, they watch the game totally different to you, and and it's like you just don't. As you said, our eyes are drawn towards as you said, the Brookings and the Bonzes, where you got the Jeff Pikes who are doing all the donkey work, really.
Yeah.
And obviously, he scored that famous. Him and Mark Ward scored that famous guy at Man United, which then which was a total fluke. And then they said, "Oh, we've been working on it training and in interviews." But really funny guys. Right, Pike is in. Who's next, man?
Right, going to go with Luis Boamorte.
Oh,
that would be a popular one. A lot of people are going to go, "Oh my God, he must be on some serious medication to sort of pick him." I always liked him. I know he loves the club. He always talks very fondly in interviews. Always talks fondly about West Ham. He was only there 3-4 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Again, he never had. I wouldn't say he had any brilliant games, no brilliant goals to speak of that I can think of. But again, a bit like George Paris. I love the fact that he gave 100%. He may not have been, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a talented footballer, played for Portugal and all the rest of it, Arsenal, Fulham, whatever. But I don't think we ever saw the best in him. But I like the fact that he gave 100%. And I don't think the fans at the time always appreciated what he brought to the team. And the fact that he was in the team sort of showed me that obviously he was doing something right, even if maybe from the stands we weren't seeing it. I had a lot of time for Barmore. I thought he was decent.
Yeah, and again, he was one of those players you said who would try.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes when players try, he's not particularly, but he was. You're not a bad player if you play for Arsenal. He said in Portugal, and he's a good, and he was a good player, and again, unfortunately, he probably came to us the tail end of his career, which tends to happen with us, as we know. Players bookend us as we're either right at the beginning or right at the end, But as you said, you're right. He does talk really highly of the club, and I'm working on him. Oh yeah, we'll get him on. Yeah, eventually.
Excellent.
All right. Yeah. Okay, who's next?
There we go. Gone with Pat Holland.
Patsy Holland, yeah.
Again, very much an unsung hero. Problem with Pat Holland, I mean, it was the injuries. 13 years at the club, 240 plus games, but the fact that he only played 240 plus games in 13 years, probably. Well, obviously a lot of that was down to the injuries, as well as obviously the other quality players we had at the time. But obviously played in the 75 final, scored in the 76 Cup Winners' Cup final. But as I say, I think he'd done his knee in sort of late 70s, never really recovered there. He was, funny enough, he did play in my first ever game. I looked it up the other night, and so I can honestly say I've seen Holland play. But I always felt a bit sorry for him that, I never saw peak Pat Holland. I'd say probably one of the, he goes under that title of an unsung hero.
Oh, definitely. I like that. That's right. And you're right. And again, he's another one that crops up when you interview older, like Harry Redknapp and stuff. Like they were like, and Jeff Pike. They were, oh yeah, Patsy Holland. He was a good player. Then they'd probably put someone else in, but he always got a notable mention. Honourable mentions or whatever. It's Pat Holland, nice one. Who's next? Who's next in your
midfield? This one, Jimmy Neighbour. I've gone with.
Yeah.
The last one as a sort of an unsung hero. Sadly, no longer with us, I believe. Again, wasn't there long, 4 years. I think we got him at the tail end of his career. I think he'd had a lot of success with Spurs. We had him. He played. I remember he was in the. He scored the winning goal that took us in the second leg of the semi-final against Coventry in the '81 League Cup, and took us to the final with Liverpool. Because obviously we'd lost the first leg, won the second 2-0, and Jimmy Neighbour scored the sort of winning goal that took us to Wembley. But I don't think, again, injuries, a bit like Patsy Holland, a lot of injuries towards the end. So I don't think we ever saw the best in Jimmy Neighbour, but when he played, decent player. And
again, it's not like it's a modern occurrence. It's throughout West Ham career and throughout West Ham history. It's all about injuries with us, isn't it? It just seems to be more than anyone else. Any bloody team. It's like as you said, people like Dean Ashton, people like that. All these phenomenal players that could have been an injury or freak. Just never. The stars never align for us. It seems sometimes. Once or twice it does, but not very often. And as you said, that's Jimmy Neighbour, nice. Okay, who's next? We're going up front now. We're playing two up front.
Yeah, we got the last two strikers.
Yeah.
First striker, Paul Goddard.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about the West Ham strikers of the sort of late 70s up to sort of the 86 team, David Cross, Tony Cottee, McAvenny.
Yeah.
Then you mention Paul Goddard. Oh yeah, Paul Goddard. Yeah, he was a good player, wasn't he? He's one of those that he's just under the radar. Yeah, and he was a really good player at the time. Really, really good player. He was unlucky that he had a couple of players. Oh, who did he have? He had he had Sandy Clark, first he was partnered with when David Cross left. And then I think the season after, because Sandy Clark was only there a season, after that we had David Swindlers from Palace. Yeah. And again, neither of those sort of played to his strengths or whatever. But he had a couple of good years with David Cross. And again, we mentioned injuries. Towards the end, unfortunately, Paul Goddard, the injuries didn't help him. And I think he went to Newcastle, then ended up with Derby. I think I'm sure he might well have, Newcastle and then with Derby. But sadly, we had 2 or 3 good years with him. And again, he's one of those, as I say, when you mention the strikers, you won't get many people that'll be their first choice going to Goddard. It'll be, as I say, David Cross, Cottee or McAvenny, and then it'll be Goddard. So for me, an unsung hero.
But you're right, and unfortunately, in some ways, we moan about injuries cutting players' careers short. Arguably, that one injury brought our most successful league season ever, because then obviously he didn't play, and then Macca went up front, and the rest was history. Obviously Macca weren't bought he was bought as a 10, not as a striker, and the fourth again. There, the stars aligned. It didn't not as planned, but they just fell in, and it just worked. And but you're right. It's you're totally right. It's like it's Macca, it's TC, it's David Cross, and then Paul got he played, didn't he? That's what you mean.
If you get a chance, go on YouTube and have a butchers at some of his games. He was actually a really decent striker. Yeah. I mean, we got him from QPR for about 800 grand, which don't seem nothing now, does it? But at the time, that 800,000 was a big fee. So as I say, he was a decent player.
Yeah, no, good shout. And who's the last piece of this unsung hero puzzle?
I've got to be honest, I struggled with the last one, especially up front, because with the strikers, you're either good or you're Benny McCarthy, do you know what I mean? There's and then you've got the iconic ones, maybe Carlton Carl. It's the unsung striker doesn't often. It's a difficult one to fit in.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I did struggle with that.
You're right, because for a midfielder to be unsung, they're usually a defensive midfielder. Yeah, that's usually it, because they're not scoring the goals. For a striker, they're either scoring the goals or they're not playing. It's like
absolutely. So I did struggle with that one, but the player I slotted in was Leroy Rossini.
Oh yeah.
And I put Leroy in. I read his book the other week. A couple of months ago, and one of the features there is, I mean, he was an okay player. Wasn't the best. No. I think he had a goal ratio, goals to games about 1 in 3.
Yep.
But when you read the book, he often played when he was at West Ham with injuries that these days the players would be having 6 weeks off. In those days, it was an injection, out you go, and whatever. And I think for that reason, he was. That's how I was able to sort of slot him in there as an unsung hero for what he did for West Ham, playing with injuries, and as I say, not being a bad player. It wasn't. I mean, he was there sort of 87, 88, which were not great years for us on the pitch. So again, the 1 in 3, not a bad little hit for at that time.
And again, he's one of those players who still loves the club. Obviously, he's an ambassador. He's one of the club ambassadors as well. We've had him on the channel. He's fantastic. I love him. He's a lovely guy. And I mean, it's one of those crazy, and that's what I love. I always interview when I ask the players. I said, how did you join West Ham? What's your story? He's saying why you're a West Ham fan, and he literally was. I think he was playing at QPR at the time. It might have been for one or the other. And literally, John Lyle turned up, and he said, "Oh, do you want to come to West Ham?" He went, "Yes," and that was on the Thursday, I want to say. And he said, "I'll turn up on Saturday. We've got a game." He turned up on Saturday. There's the number 9 jersey. You're starting, and he didn't know any of the play. He only knew Tony Gale, from his Fulham days. That's the only person he really knew. And then he's like, "Off you go, lad." Up front, off you go. I haven't trained with any of this lot yet. It doesn't matter. Off you go. It might have even signed him on the Friday, and he played on the Saturday. But yeah, and I interviewed Gonzo from my from Hammer's chat, and Leroy was in his 11, and because he loved him, and it was just like he was just one of his favourite players ever. And
I'm sure the story goes is that, because I read Kerry Dixon's book.
Sure.
Kerry Dixon had a choice of West Ham or Arsenal at the time. He ended up staying with Chelsea. He'd fallen out with Ken Bates, whatever, as did a lot of people. But he was tempted to sway towards West Ham because he'd met John Lyall. John Lyall had sold the club well to him later. In the end, he decided to stay at Chelsea. And I think that's why we then sort of pushed towards Leroy Rossignol.
Yeah,
I think we'd lost Tony Cottee at the time. Cottee had gone to Everton.
Yes, you're right. There was I think Leroy said. I think there was talk of them buying Kerry Dixon, and it fell through, and he was seen as like the Kerry Dixon light.
Yeah,
and I think about $1 million or something. Yeah, it wasn't a lot they paid for him in retrospect, but it's a funny one, isn't it? But I love all those stories. That's what the stories I love, like. Because obviously the players pick it up as well. You know, he knew that they were trying to get Kerry Dixon, and then they took. So obviously he thought, well, clearly you haven't got Kerry Dixon, so that's why you're coming to me. But David, it's been lovely.
I've enjoyed it, Russ.
Really nice chatting to you. I've loved it.
Brilliant.
It's lovely. Thank you. Oh, fantastic! And I love the fact that there's a really nice theme, and you're right. I reckon there's probably 3 or 4 new names to add to the list, so
brilliant.
That's all good. That's all
delighted.
Good, man. That's what we love. So thank you, David. Obviously, thanks everyone for watching as well. Share, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Keep watching the videos. Keep commenting. Keep suggesting people you want us to get on the channel. We'll try our darndest to get them all on the channel. And until next time, from myself and David, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Come on, you Irons. You got to do it. That's it. Socially distance. And we'll see you next time. Take care.